Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're starting a weekly reading vlog. I haven't done a reading vlog in forever. It's currently Monday, July the 11th. It's almost noon. I already finished a book that I was already in the middle of, and that was Visions of Heat by Nalini Singh. This is the second book in the Side Changeling series. I borrowed it from my library, read it on my Kindle, and I gave it 3 stars. I talked about this in my recent reads video, my most recent reads video, that I'm gonna kind of put a pause on urban fantasy or urban sci fantasy, for the main reason that as much as I enjoy these kind of palette cleansers, really fun kind of quick escapist type reads, I almost always go into them expecting them to be 3 stars, and they almost always are 3 stars. Books that are kind of in the vein of anything like Mercy Thompson, Sookie Stackhouse, Anita Blake, the kind of long Surreal type series. And I'm really conflicted because, well, again, while I stand by that I want to read more books that I genuinely want to give 4 to 5 stars on, this book ended in a way that I'm very intrigued by. The romance itself was not something that I was super into. I should have expected the love interest to be very insta-lovey, insta-lusty, because he is a changeling, which is a shapeshifter. So he was as soon as he meets our main character, he's I want her so badly, and the animal in me is or whatever. He's really into her, and I just needed something else. I was just not vibing with the romance. The romance was just average to me, but at the end of this book we did finally get a kind of hint to where the series is going. I'm so interested. I really want to continue the main plot story, but I'm just not loving the actual romance aspects of this book. If you've never read the Side Changeling series, it's about changelings, which are shapeshifters. I think we follow I don't know what kind of cat shifter he is, but there's wolves, and there's also I want to say jaguars and stuff, shifters. But then we also follow Psy, which are much more interesting to me. They're essentially psychics, and there's different types of psychics, medics, psychometrics, telekinetic, telepathy, all types of Psy, and they've been pretty much bred and raised to be emotionless. And when they do show emotion, they are sent to rehab clinics where they basically mind wipe them, and they're basically walking zombies. It's it's the worst punishment ever. And naturally we follow a couple of Psy who start feeling things that they shouldn't feel. And in this particular book we follow a foreseer Psy. She can see the future. She's been raised to see business type deals, specifically stocks, trades, all that kind of stuff. But then she actually starts seeing visions of people dying, and one of those ends up being her sister. She says nothing about it. She doesn't do anything about it. She doesn't want to, she doesn't want her life to be compromised, and her sister eventually dies. And there's this whole kind of mystery. The mystery aspect itself was also kind of average. The romance, again, was average, but at the end, like I said, we do get this kind of hint at where the story's going, and I'm really interested. So I'm really conflicted. I honestly can't decide if I'll pick up the next book sooner or later. What I am also currently in the middle of is Mask of Shadows by Linsey. This is a YA fantasy that I kind of just picked up on a whim. I'm about 100 pages into this, and I had put it down to finish Visions of Heat, and now that I finished that, I'll jump back into this. This is about our main character named Sal, and Sal, who is gender fluid by the way and goes by he, she, and they pronouns, live in a country that has recently overcome this kind of civil war, and the current queen has a left hand, which is basically her group of assassins that do her bidding. They're all named after the rings she wears on her fingers. I think it's Opal, Ruby, and then 2 other ones. Anyways, the past Opal has passed away, and Sal would like to participate in this new trial challenge audition to become the next Opal, the next assassin for the queen, in order to get higher up in rank and to possibly get close to certain nobles that had a hand in the destruction of their home country prior to the Civil War. I'm okay with what we have so far, but I would just like more in terms of world building, because the kind of background, the character backgrounds, the world backgrounds, the story, the the world building, all kind of stuff is pretty much straightforward, told to the audience, and I just need a little bit like richer world building. It's kind of just straightforward, like, let me like info dump on you. I would like it done in a better manner. 100 pages in, we're already in like the midst of this audition. What would be the best aspect of this book? I would probably say the best aspect so far is just the interactions between characters. I do like the conversations that Sal has with pretty much any person that they run into. I'm almost positive that this is a series. I don't know how many books are in the series. Yeah, it's a quick book. It's not very long. 100 pages out of about 330. I do have a lot of chores to do though, so I like breaking up my tasks for the day in like 30-minute intervals. So like 30 minutes of like washing the dishes, 30 minutes of reading, 30 minutes of doing something else, 30 minutes of reading. So I will check in when I have something to add to the log. Wednesday. I didn't update yesterday. I really didn't feel like talking to a camera. I was cramping and it hurt a lot, so I kind of just didn't film anything. But I did read a little bit. I have a few updates. I'd say like 3-ish updates. So I didn't finish Mask of Shadows quite yet, but I am about 100 pages more into it than I was. It's fine. I think my biggest issue I have with this is that I wish it had more structure, because the competition element of this whole to be the next Queen's Assassin type thing is pretty loose. Like, the rules are pretty much like kill your opponents but don't get caught because you're supposed to be sneaky, and that's it. And then they're still kind of expected to go to like poison lessons, sword lessons, endurance, whatever. Like, could you imagine if like the Hunger Games didn't have like a structure to it? It's just like survive, do whatever you want to survive. In this one, there's not really much, so it's kind of just like we're waiting to see what happens. We're waiting to see if our main character is gonna like act and like kill some of their opponents. So that's pretty much where I am on this one. I am interested in seeing what happens next, because they did actually do something that I was like, okay, so we're moving the plot forward. Like, we're finally getting some momentum going. That being said, we are 200 pages into the book, and the book's like 330 pages. So yeah, I'm probably gonna give this like 3 stars. I also mentioned how I was going to do some chores, and when I do chores, I try to listen to audiobooks sometimes. So I did pick up an audiobook. I picked up Within These Withered Walls, Within These Wicked Walls by Laura Blackburn, I think is the author's name. I'll put an image right here. This is a Jane Eyre retelling set in Ethiopia, I believe. And our main character is Deptera, which is basically an exorcist who cleanses homes, and she gets an opportunity to cleanse a home that no one else wants to do, and that's where she meets Rochester, or this book's version of him. This house does have secrets, as you can imagine. I'm not like, I know Jane Eyre, like I know the broad strokes. I've never read the book, but I like know pretty much what happens. So I'm sure if you've read the book, you'll probably like latch on to certain aspects that maybe are going over my head, but for the most part, I'm really enjoying this. I think the atmosphere is cool. It is kind of horror like. I like the writing, storytelling, all that kind of stuff. For the most part, I'm leaning on 4 stars for this one. There is a bit of a romance. I think this romance had the potential to be really interesting, but it did kind of lean into just kind of like insta lovey almost. There were some interactions between our main character and the love interest at the beginning that I was like, oh, that's interesting, like I hope this builds well, but it just went straight towards like insta love, and I wanted to see a more organic relationship form, but it just became very like, again, like insta lovey. So that's the like one downfall of this, and I'm about 60% of the way through this one. I did a lot of chores, so I got to read a lot of that one. And so for my third update in this clip, I also started reading an ebook. I didn't get too far, I only got one chapter into it, but it is the second book in the agency series by Y.S. Lee. I read the first book a few like recent read updates ago. It's a historical fiction YA mystery series set in like the 1850s, and we follow she's Chinese. I know her father's Chinese, and I want to say her mother is Scottish, and she lives in London, and she gets taken in by a finishing school that ends up actually being like an agency for like espionage, and they get contracted out by like Scotland Yard and stuff like that, and it's all women doing spy things. And this is our character's like second mission that she's on. I like mysteries set in a historical period, so I picked this one up. I thought the writing flowed really well in the first book, and I'm assuming it's gonna flow really well again in the second book. I honestly just picked this up because it was like midnight. I wanted something to read, but I didn't want to turn on like a nightlight or anything, and so I had my Kindle. It's nothing big there, so yeah, those are my updates for now. I will see you all later. I just finished reading or listening to Within These Wicked Walls by Lauren Blackwood. I would give this 4 stars. I enjoyed the majority of it. I thought the writing was really great, and the like imagery in this book was also pretty strong. Like I mentioned before, our character is kind of like an exorcist, and some of the things that happen in this house are kind of creepy. I personally don't get scared a lot, but maybe if you're newer to like gothic type stuff with some darker imagery, this might make you uncomfortable, but I thought it was mostly fine. It is YA also, so I don't think it's like too graphic. It's weird because I thought that the author did a really good job at establishing the relationships that she had with pretty much all the characters except for the like main love interest. I wasn't totally bought on the romance, which is weird because the relationship that she has with like her father figure, with another woman that she meets, with a couple women that she meets, I thought were all pretty strong, and the development of those relationships, despite them being like secondary, I thought were good, but the romance was just like not strong enough. Like I mentioned before, there was moments that I was like, this seems like a great foundation to like build off of, and it quickly veered into like insta lovey, which was like kind of unfortunate. But for the most part, the story beginning to end, with the exception of the romance, I thought was a great experience. So 4 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. It's currently 9:30 in the morning, Friday the 15th. So yeah, vlog's gonna close up soon. It's been pretty boring, but that's my life. My life is pretty boring. I'm not super fun. Anywho, I will talk to y'all later. Hi, time to wrap up the vlog. Okay, so we finished with 3 books this vlog. I just remembered that I forgot to talk about Mask of Shadows by Linsey Miller. I'm gonna give this 3 stars. Look, so this is very generic YA, which isn't a bad thing, because I mean, we like some of these tropes, we love some of these tropes, assassins, that kind of thing. The issues that I had with this are still there. I wish there was a bit more structure to this whole challenge competition to be the next political assassin for the queen. It just felt very like loosey-goosey like. However, I am conflicted because the ending finally was giving us some expansion on what like I wanted, some political intrigue. That's kind of what I was looking for this entire book. Like, if you have a character who's like auditioning to be a political assassin, I'm assuming that like we're gonna get into some of the politics of it all. We finally got into it like 70 pages before the book ended, which is unfortunate. I would be intrigued to see how the story continues, but I don't think that I would buy the next books. I'd probably just find it on my library system, like, and listen to an audiobook, or find it like on ebook or something, but I wouldn't go out of my way to like look for physical copies. I don't want them on my shelves. I don't like them that much, unfortunately. It felt very like not fleshed out, like almost like the author is just like getting the main points across, putting them in the book, and then go, I just need like a little more, like, let things simmer a bit. So yeah, that's the last book I needed to talk about. Again, at the beginning of the vlog, I did finish Visions of Heat by Nalini Singh. Also conflicted about like if I should continue with that. I'm not really in the mood to like read urban fantasy, even though I enjoy it. I kind of want to focus on other things, series, other genres, stuff like that. And then I also finished that Jane Eyre retelling, Within These Withered Walls, I think that's what it's called, by Lauren Blackwood. Again, I pretty much liked all aspects of this book, you know, with varying degrees, except for the romance. The romance was just, it could have been good or intriguing or fun, and it was just rushed for me. So 4 stars. If you made it this far, leave a ghost emoji for Within These Wicked Walls, or feel free to talk to me in the comments about anything that I've talked about. I will link my socials down below, as well as some far more important links. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.